Today's Palm Sunday. It's the last Sunday of Lent. Lent is 40 days before Easter, in which we prepare for Easter. How do we prepare? It's in our consciousness, in our awareness of what's really happening at Easter, so that we are attuned with it, so that it can happen within us. That's the whole point of the 40 days. Gautama, in 1982, December 31, it wasn't Easter, it was New Year's. And he gave a dictation which, to me, is for today. In fact, it would have been quite adequate for next Sunday, Easter. I hope you take notes, for this is really the instruction that all of us should have in preparation for Easter. He starts out by saying, "Ho, let the angels of light descend." When have you called for those angels to come? We need to begin to catch what these masters have learned to do, so that we can learn to do the same thing. Call for the angels in. Let the angels of light descend upon your home, upon your sanctuary. Wherever you are, let the angels descend. See them around you. All of us have 6 or more assigned to us. But some of them are pretty lonely because they never are thought of. He says, "I make this fiat, for I have allowed the world pain to come upon you, your temple, your forlorn bodies, your spirit, and your soul. I have come bearing world pain. This is an initiation of the bodhisattvas of East and West. When you are able to bear some element of world pain, beloved, you have entered the path of sainthood." Shall I repeat that? This business of being a saint is beyond some people's consciousness. Sometimes in a telephone call, I will say to somebody, "Hello, is this Saint Mary or Saint Joe or whatever?" And you can feel the take back. "Whoa, what is this? I'm not a saint." "Oh, aren't you?" Let me reread that. When you are able to bear some element of world pain, beloved, you have entered the path of sainthood. And where you are willing to bear that pain, for others cannot bear it, you acquire stripes of merit. Take that one in. There's a reason we bear this pain. Several. It's not only to help other people, but it's also helping us merit the final, the ascension. These are initiations. we don't always realize what this pain means. But many of us go through many pains, much. And therefore, we need to be open. If we can really discern that, well, some of this pain, I'm really carrying the world pain, then it's easier for us to carry that pain. He says, as I contemplate the holiness of the path, I repeat, as I contemplate the holiness of the path and the various forms, east and west, that this holiness takes, I must pause to point out that the best of the offerings of the Catholic Church is a pattern of sainthood. Yet, this sainthood does not come at the top of the church. Makes one think when you hear this. He said it comes from the rank and file, the lowly, such as Padre Pio and many others. And among you, there are counted any number who in past lives have followed the path of sainthood, for it was your deepest love and calling. Think about that. And think about that in terms of you, your calling. He said, entering into the mystical path of Christianity, you discover souls of light who pant for the living God. That was the psalmist in the 42nd Psalm that I read earlier. That's what he said. Who pant for the living God, and to be one with the Lord Jesus Christ. This is their service, night and day. They wrestle with demons that are physical, as Padre Pio did. Have you ever read the story of Padre Pio? It is a phenomenal story. I mean, he had a time as he was maturing in his mastery, where literally they were throwing his pots and pans in the kitchen at him. He had all kinds of bruise marks in the morning, fighting these demons who came to really give it to him. He said they wrestle with demons of the astral plane and all levels. They wrestle with their own dweller on the threshold, and they call for the judgment of the elements of their beings, not in keeping with the course of the mystical path. Thus, for thousands of years, the church has been sustained by the blood of the saints, and yet not by the hierarchy itself. Well, if you know anything about the hierarchy of the church, whether it be Catholic or otherwise, many times one has to shade his eyes because of what you know what's going on, and especially in this hour. And so we don't see the saints necessarily being at the top, but in the middle someplace. He said, so you come to understand, beloved, what I would speak of to you this day. Many of you were not brought up in the Catholic faith, Therefore, you do not have the tradition of being close to Mother Mary or Saint Joseph or the Christ child or the many other saints who are celebrated throughout the world. I must mention to you, beloved, that you cannot pursue a worldly existence, taking exception to the rules of God and his commandments, going this way and that, following any whim that the demons pull you toward, making many mistakes and many wrong turns. I would ask then that all ye who carry that single flame of fire that we have for the coming of Son of tomorrow might pattern your life after the lives of the saints and read of the most famous saints in Butler's Lives of the Saints, that you might understand that sainthood is within your reach and grasp, that many of you could have that sainthood long ago for the very momentum of decrees that you have given for so many years. And yet, beloved, when you have had the opportunity to pursue that path, building on the foundation of your decrees, you have either not known how or not been taught how to pursue a path of sainthood, hour by hour, day by day. What we see then here in this church, which is Church Universal and Triumphant, is a certain taking for granted that you will have your victorious ascension in the light if you will give a certain amount of decrees in your lifetime that will be necessary for this to be accomplished. Yet, having done so, you are so easily drawn into the activities of the world. All you have to do is watch the news and you begin to feel that inner anger come up of seeing the stupidness that goes on in this political arena, in this country and the world around. You have to shake your head sometimes and say, is this real or what is this? And a certain patine, P-A-T-I-N-E, of worldliness. What is this? It is like a cloud of energy comes over you as you pick up these energies of the world, as you become one with it, as you get yourself involved with it. The certain patina worldliness comes upon you, and the fire and the light of the saint that you are within, yet not without, is not there. This is serious. This is something we need to take note of. What happens if we get so involved that we take on this patina of worldliness rather than the consciousness of the saint? I then would point out to you that you have the science of the spoken word and the violet flame decrees. Whereas there are many saints in the Catholic Church who shall not ascend, for they do not have the violet flame, yet you do have it. They then perform all manner of arduous deeds, of difficult practices, of giving their lives for the saving of souls. This then is their so-called violet flame. This is their good karma. This is the means whereby they achieve transmutation. Transmutation comes to you with the snap of a finger and a pure heart. As you open your decree book and begin to invoke that flame, you are instantaneously and automatically balancing personal karma and planetary karma. So then, shall we say that the children of the Church Universal and Triumphant are somewhat spoiled and know how easy it is that they so erase the mistakes of yesterday by the violet flame? Do they then indulge themselves in various activities that are of the world out of which they have come? Blessed ones, the stability of life and of the life stream is all important. I must remind you, do not take for granted that which you have as dispensation, but to walk in the footsteps of the great saints of East and West. Think then of Pabba Sambhava. Think of Maitreya and Manjushri. Think of Kuan Yin. Think of the great female saints who surrounded Pabba Sambhava. Think of all of this and remember that all of this and more you are capable of. And you are capable of it for the glorious dispensation that you have. I desire to see deep prayer and meditation and daily going to the altar of your nearest center or the altar in your home. I desire to see you become saints of the West who mirror the saints of the East. I desire that you should understand that the Catholic Church and the Eastern Church have survived because of the individual saints within these churches. They have kept the church alive. So you must keep this church alive by a sense of holiness and sanctity. Have you ever gone into a great cathedral in some of these major cities? Have you sensed when you went through the door, immediately you wanted to take off your hat? Immediately you began to whisper instead of talking to whoever is with you. As you came closer to the altar, you wanted to kneel. You would sit down in one of the benches, and you wanted to just spend time in that atmosphere, in that patin, that glorious patin, that glorious energy that is all around you. That's what kept the church alive. And then when you walk into a country church, only people come once a week. Nobody stands there and prays all day. There is nothing there. And we never miss it. And we wonder why we aren't drawing people from the world. It's because we walk in and we talk in the normal sense. We do not feel that light, that power, that energy which God is. In order to have it, one has to call it within every 24 hours, or it recedes. Now, you don't have to be there to call it forth, but the monks and the nuns pray day after day after day after day before the altar. They draw down that light, and when you walk in, you feel that light. And that's what he's talking about. It's the saints who have the discipline to call down the light and become the light. This is what makes the church the church. And therefore, all of us, as we reach Easter this year, should remind ourselves how we find and encourage that flame of resurrection, calling forth that flame. And I'm calling it forth every day at your altars. It must be within every 24 hours. We have to understand this. He said, thus I must bring to your attention, beloved, for many of you take wrong turns and then are wholly enveloped in your own lust. You go this way, you go that way. You are not steady. You are as though drunk with your own sacred fire that you then misuse. For you seem to have so much of it because you give your decrees, and therefore you draw it forth, but then turn around and misuse it. You are easily led astray, for you have not called forth the gift of discernment of spirits. Yes, the very demons that come to torment you, to twist your mind, to take you in this or that direction, which is the way that seemeth right, but end thereof are the ways of death. When you have been on this path for a year, or 5, or 10, you must guard carefully every word you speak, every action you take. For there will always be the demons attacking you in your 4 lower bodies and in your soul, just as Padre Pio had to deal with those demons night after night after night. These demons have come to you through family members, through parents, through friends, through enemies. But God has given you this opportunity because you have the strength, because you have the knowledge, because you have the light. This is why there are given unto you major challenges. You must not fail these tests. I report to you that any number of members of this community have failed major tests up to this hour. What a pity, beloved. It is such a time of testing, and this was given, as I said, on the 31st of December. And now he's talking about the 6-week cycle just before the end of the year. And we are then moving toward the middle of the year, which again, we have a 6-week cycle. Test time. We are tested twice a year. You need to be aware of this. You need to work with it as you get there. It is such a time of testing in the 6-week cycle before the end of the year. And that testing does come to all of the world. Why then should keepers of the flame who have the highest calling and the greatest understanding, why should they be caught in the mesh of such traps? Why should they, beloved? It is because you are not practicing sainthood daily. Think about that. It is because we are not practicing sainthood daily. When things go well, you do not decree. And things go well for a while for the demons are sowing a trap for you. They are building a trap, and so you are ensnared. You fall into the trap because you have not sustained a pillar of fire about you at night and a cloud of witness from your mighty I am presence by day. If the great prophet Moses and all the children of Israel could not survive without that pillar of fire and that cloud of witness, do you suppose that you can survive without it? You are almost playing Russian roulette with the teachings, beloved. It is though the teachings were here to serve you rather than you serve the ascended masters and their teachings, and thereby acquire a new level on the ladder of initiation. This church must be built upon the foundation of souls who know they have been through the darkest, deepest despairs in many lifetimes, who are convinced with the absolute conviction that in this hour they must not waste a moment to build that citadel of sacred fire that no demon may enter to poison the waters, to poison the kidneys or the liver or the brain or the stomach or any part of one's being. When you see fellow chelas veering to the right, to the left, or sinking below, or getting giddy at the heights when they are drunken with new wine of the Spirit, I ask you to offer counseling, to offer friendship, to offer wisdom, and to shake awake those who are falling into the paths of darkness. I think you would consider it amazing to understand and know how much the messenger knows about so many of you at the soul level. How the messenger observes when you take your dips and stray far from the center of being. Yet do you call in prayer for intercession at inner levels from the messengers or the masters? When you are convinced that you are on a course and you do not want a saint or an ascended master to change your mind, you make yourself scarce. You do not come to church, for you are bent upon pursuing this business, this relationship, this schism, this folly. And so in a matter of weeks or months, you have lost much. Losing that sacred fire, beloved, is one thing. But going back to the karmic board again and requesting another opportunity, I tell you, each time you do this, you have less and less that can be given to you by the lords of karma. So you see, beloved, there is no room for indulgence. when you appreciate the holiness of your holy Christ self, when you appreciate the holiness of your holy Christ self, the holiness of God, and count your blessings that you have such a wondrous understanding of true spirituality, when you have all of this, beloved, then come to the altar, not in pride or rancor or with anger toward your fellow chelas, but come to the altar in profound and abject humility for the opportunity to be a survivor unto the fullness of your ascension. This is what we offer you. We are based in the West, for this has been the sponsorship and the dispensation of Saint Germain and Sanat Kumara. Yet you must shun the materialism, the idolatry, the indulgence of the misuse of sacred fire, and the placing of these pictures and modern pictures, saturating the youth with the indulgence of the sacred fire and the chakras. When you see all of this, you must remember that there is a great trap in the West. And in the West is the trap of materialism, of sensuality. Therefore, you have come to the West to conquer that materialism, that materialistic consciousness, that sensuality in all of the five senses and all of the chakras that takes you thither and yon and beyond the center of being. One and all, you are here because you have karma of this type of having indulged in a material civilization to the point of even losing your soul. Why have we called for soul retrieval? It is because of the fragments that have tossed and tumbled in the waves of materialism, causing the soul to sink. Thus, if you are born in the West, you must expect that as a spiritual traveler, you must beware constantly of the temptation to enjoy the fruits of this materiality. I tell you, beloved, if you were in a monastery in the East, where there are holy women and other monasteries for holy initiates, you would not have these temptations. You would not even be near them. You would be cloistered on a path. And yet, if you could see these monks and nuns throughout the earth today, especially in the East, you would realize that the dispensation of Saint Germain for the Aquarian age has not reached them. They are still in the old dispensation of Buddhism, Hinduism, and the world's major religions. What a pity. Yet they strive so hard, and they have so little. Not a drop of the violet flame to transmute a day's transmutations. This is an hour for you to count your blessings and to move forward into the year with a profound humility and a sense of sorrow that you have in any way violated the laws of your own being, of your own Christhood, or of your own I am presence. We who are the bodhisattvas of the world and beyond worlds. I hold the office of the Lord of the world, one and all. We who have come up the ladders of the Eastern tradition, as many of you have, speak to you, and we say, do not allow this period of decadence, of the dark night of the Kali Yuga, descending into this entire hemisphere to take from you your absolute victory, your sainthood, your sainthood. The messenger can tell you much about yourselves, yet you must ponder yourselves and go to the altar. And by, if you have not resolved, write a letter and know it is answered at the soul level. The commission of the messenger is not to go after you, but to wait for you to come to the altar. Though the messenger may know many things that ought not to be, if you are not prepared to confess them, if you are not prepared to make things right, the messenger remains somewhat in my electronic presence, the presence of the Buddha, aware, constantly praying for you, constantly calling for you, and every light bearer in the earth to be cut free. Yet the messenger will not cross the line and invade your privacy unless you are determined to put that old man into the sacred fire and to step out of that fire fully clothed in the garments of your Christhood. Therefore, I give you in this talk that we are having a sense of co-measurement. Co-measurement, beloved. Measuring yourself, that's with the capital S, in its highest manifestation of Christhood against the measurement of the man or the woman, the child that you are today. What is the co-measurement of that being that you shall become, but of that being that you are not anywhere near becoming in many cases? That is the co-measurement you must look at. Not that you are doing a great job, but what is the job that you must do and how much you have to accomplish, and how will you attain that fullness of the stature of your Christhood? How will you do it day by day, willing to know pain each time you go to Mass, to bear the cross of Jesus, to bear his wounds, to bear his body, to bear his world pain. This is the meaning of entering into the citadel of Sanat Kumara, of Shambhala in the etheric octave. I would see a revolution in consciousness in all keepers of the flame. I would see in your eyes a holiness that will be observed by anyone who sees you near or far, on a plane, traveling, walking down the dusty road. Those who meet you will not miss your aura, or the fire of the eyes, or the expansion of the heart. That is, beloved, if you truly follow the calling of Cthulhu, of Jesus, of the saints of old and the saints in your very midst. Have you, as you're watching the news and you see the pictures of different people, haven't you said sometimes, wow, there's a person who is truly of the light? You could see it in their eyes, the tremendous power and beauty that was there. You say, wow, I'd like to meet that person. It's just the power is there. You observe it, you see it. And he's saying, everybody should say that about you. He said, I have spoken thusly, beloved. For if you do not have that fire of the eye, that magnanimity of heart, that openness of giving and serving and helping, and of having the quality of mercy, then those who have that fire and are true seekers will not only pass you by, but they will pass by the church or the teaching center, for they will say, this people has a great calling and a great teaching, but where is the light in their chakras? What is the light? Where is the light of the heart? Where do they lay down their life for humanity? Where are those pilgrims that we are looking for? We do not find them in this church or in this teaching center, for too many are caught up with self-serving projects or money schemes or diversions this way or that, as though they would live to be 1,000 years old. Thus, the true seekers that come out of the East and out of the churches of the West, beloved, they will enter, they will look at you, and they will say, we thought this was the right place, but we see by the actions and vibrations of those supposed keepers of the flame that we are not in the right place. We are in the wrong place. We must look elsewhere for the highest path and the highest teaching on earth. It has been said to you before, and has been the heart of El Moria, that he will invite any number of those who are tied to our centers, who only take as moths around a flame, and yet do not give. They just take. They don't give. So the Master has said, let those move on. Let them find their comfortable niche. While they are buzzing about the flame, they cover over the beauty of the fire of the hearts of the true devotees. If you are not a representative of St. Francis, of St. Clara, of your own sainthood in centuries past, if you do not bring that representation to the fore in your church, this church, if you do not bring it to others, then I tell you, they shall not remain. It requires the magnet of all hearts and the hearts of love, such a profound compassion and kindness and concern for anyone you may meet along the road of life. That quality of heart makes you a part of the great central sun magnet. And those of you who have not developed the heart chakra, you cannot attract the great central sun magnet. You have no spiritual magnetism to draw your soul into the glory of God and other souls to the path of this high calling. And what about the empty ones and the vague ones who have condemned the messengers, who have left the high judgment? And that means that is the feeling of offense and resentment and so on. So let them go their way. These are the moths that swing around the flame or the great light bulb, but they accomplish nothing but to weigh down those who truly keep the flame of life. My beloved friends, stop and think about what the great Buddha is saying. This is the secret of the day, of the expansion that could be there if we had the fire, if we had what he's talking about. Blessed hearts, I ask you to look into your libraries and to find books about saints. Saints that go back 2,000 years, saints of the East and saints of today, who are in their very midst, yet living, having not yet ascended. Study the paths of those who have found the ultimate joy of giving service to life. Then you will have the key. Then the doors will open. Then the masses will enter in. Then there shall be glory. Then there shall be victory. Then there shall be healing. Then there shall be true wholeness, and not so much attention to the self with a small s, but to the point of being Let me back up. Then there shall be true wholeness, and not so much attention to the small self, almost to the point of being narcissistic. Blessed ones, forget the small self. For the only self that is true is this big self of your great God self, your holy Christ self. I am calling for 180-degree turnaround of all chelas of the West who have the violet flame, and you who call me Gautama Buddha, your friend and your teacher. I ask you to take that 180-degree turnaround and think of the seriousness that Mother Mary has brought to you of the loss of souls every day for want of saviors. I say, you have been with this plan long enough, this path long enough. You must decide that you will become a world savior, and you can begin with yourself. I, Gautama Buddha, ask you to ponder these things. For the example you set will be what draws to this organization the equivalent of that particular example. The higher the example, the pride that is conquered, the absence of it, and all anger, this will bring you to you higher and higher souls. You cannot magnetize what you are not. And I have spoken to you in this hour of what you are not. Now study the lives of the saints and become one. For you may accomplish many things of service, But I tell you, sainthood is a part of your calling. If you would ensure with a divine insurance that you shall make your ascension in this life. I seal you on the mystical path of Christianity that all the true saints have known, and I send you the love of the cosmos. Vajra, 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 Vajra. Oh, Gautama. We would rise up and be Gautama. So moment by moment and day by day, clarifying this message that we might become to the world Gautama Buddha. We do ask it in your holy name, my beloved Master, Gautama.